Here she is. Perfect. All right. Hello and welcome to the Survivor Maryland Winner Take All episode 13 after show, live show. Doesn't matter. You get it. I'm your host and editor, Anders. I'm here joined with a bunch of wonderful guests, a lot of them from Michigan, but that's okay. We're going to go into it. Erin, my lovely co-host, how are you?
Oh, we're doing fantastic, Anders. We're
I
making
don't.
it
That's
day
why I
by
asked.
day. Okay.
Great. Well, Calvin, you're new. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Calvin. I'm the number one advocate for Michaela Monday. I'm from Survivor San Diego, and I'm not from Michigan, but my dad is, so I'm like a second-gen Michiganer, I guess.
That counts.
Too many of you. Too many. Katie, introduce yourself again. We've met you. We should know you, but do it again.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Anders, and appreciate you being patient with me while my Discord and everything updates. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Reed. I was a producer for Survivor Michigan seasons 2 through 5, and then I played season 6, which aired earlier this year, end of last year. Yeah, something like that. So go check that out if you can.
Great. And then Akshay, you've been here before, but introduce us to you again if we don't remember.
Yeah, so my name's Akshay. I was in Survivor Michigan season 1, produced 2 through 4, had a quick cameo on 5 that nobody remembers, and then produced 6 and 7 also. And I'm the Survivor Michigan historian.
Well, incredible. Well, today we're going to talk about episode 13 of Survivor Maryland Winner Take All. Can't believe we're this far into the season, and Tony and JS are still here, baby. Who would have thought? Erin is thrilled. How did we feel about this episode? A much less straightforward vote.
Was it?
I mean,
I
would say
very
so.
straightforward.
I would definitely not say it was straightforward. I mean,
this one
even
felt weirdly more straightforward to me than last week, even though I know it wasn't.
Really?
It just for some reason the entire week last week I was like, there's no way Jack's going home, and this week I was like, yeah, Michaela's going home for sure.
Yeah, I would say a lot of names were thrown out. There were a lot of combinations of things that were brought up, but I felt like every conversation, watching it throughout by the end, by the time Tribal started, I was like, okay, so Michaela, maybe Tony, but I'm pretty sure Michaela's going home.
The moment I saw the first Tony vote, I was like, okay, it's Michaela. Got it. Guaranteed.
I was I figured going into Tribal it was going to be Michaela, but leading up to it, I don't think it was super straightforward the whole way through. And even when Doug had his kind of wishy-washy moment of I don't know if this is the right play, I don't know if I want to piss people off this soon, which I thought was really funny because 2 of the people in on that blind side had done their pre-damage control and already told Katie about the blind side already. So Doug should have just done that instead of being maybe we don't piss these people off. But I mean, when he was having that kind of wishy-washy moment, I was like, is he talking himself out of it? So I was like, maybe there's a world in which it doesn't happen. But I also figured that Katie wouldn't write Tony's name down this early thinking he was actually going home.
Well, what I meant by not straightforward is that I don't think anyone was coming into this week going, it's definitely Michaela going out next. Obviously the episode explained to you why it was Michaela, but I mean, last week, Jack going home is the obvious answer from Miranda going home. Michaela going home is just, what if we send home Michaela?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, this week we see some interesting things. We see that Tony and JS do work together, despite the fact that Tony does not like JS. It's crazy. They hate each other. Tony specifically to JS the whole time, even at Tribal. And Tony's still anyways, we're voting with JS. How do we feel about the whole Tony and JS of it all? We see JS is honest that he wants to work with Tony, and Tony hates JS, but they're going to keep working together.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's like a love-hate relationship, but they both hate each other, but they both love being in the game. So it's very interesting in that way.
And I got to think, as they're just continuing to take newbies out and just leave the path forward for any returnee to just make it to the end at this point, they don't have another choice.
Can we let's also talk about that. There are 4 returnees at this point. They have allowed we start the merge at 13. There are 5 returnees. They're like, we got to get them out. And there were still 4 at the final 8. This is so funny.
Wild.
I mean, before Edge of Extinction, it was like a guarantee. If you had a mixed returnee and newbies season, the returnees did well. Like one was guaranteed to make the finals. That's just how it worked. And I feel like because this was filmed as long ago as it was, as we discovered based on the fact that they were watching Game Changers during it, it was still in that era of like, okay, if a returnee comes in, like it's fine, we can work with them. And then that's just kind of what everybody did. Even though there was this big newbie versus returnee split the whole time, everyone was like, okay, so once we change that, once we're not newbies versus returnees, I'm working with this person, I'm working with that person. And then just because everyone hated each other, and JS is just like, I can't stand anybody. And Michaela and Fish were like, we really can't stand JS. It just worked out perfectly that it blew up. And now there's more returnees than newbies, which I don't really get how that happened. And also with like the Tony JS relationship, it's very like season 46 of Q and Liz, of like, they clearly dislike each other. And yet this one person is saving this other person week after week to take out these other threats.
So who is who? So
I was gonna say I don't like that comparison just because I love Q.
Wait, who's Q? Is Tony Q?
I don't know
will
about
not
that.
answer that
I don't
question.
even know.
Or is JS Q?
No,
I think JS is the Q just because it's always
'Cause
like
he's letters.
the one, no, and because he's letters. No, because he's always the one that's like, okay, JS's name is out there, and so like other people might feel safe because JS's name is out there. They think JS is going home. I checked it and it's fine. Thanks.
Actually, wait, real quick on that point, because last time I was on the show, Erin, you were fuming about JS.
Yeah.
And now I hear you are more anti-Tony than you
That's
are
correct.
anti-JS at this point.
Yes.
Because he turned on Andrew?
No, because he's a contradictory, hypocritical asshole.
Okay, that one's more fair.
So do you still dislike JS?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I'm not pro JS by any means. Let's be
Okay,
clear.
got it.
I'm just Tony is just somehow worse.
So yeah, okay. But the two of them in this game, I mean, just TV gold, honestly. But mind-boggling how they are still here and are just. I don't even have words for it, honestly, because it's almost like they both think they are so in enough with all of the returnees that they will for sure be the one that the returnees bring to the end. And they just, I don't know.
I hope
I don't
neither
know
of them
about
make it, if I'm being honest.
Say that again, Akshay?
But I hope neither of them make it, if I'm being honest. But we'll see.
We'll see.
I think on this whole like with the returnee dynamic of like I think because they haven't in the last few rounds it hasn't been as like newbies versus returnees because the newbies are cannibalizing each other. So I feel like they were the main ones pushing that narrative. They were the main ones that made sense for. So when that narrative fell apart, why would the returnees be like, oh, like returnee strong, we're going to be returnee strong, whatever, blah, 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 and like even bring that up to any of the newbies. And at this point, it's like, and this vote in particular, the returnees were willing to not work together. Were they willing to vote out another returnee? No. But like, was that still good enough for Tony and JS? Yes.
I also want to give a special shout out. We have Austin in the audience, and he's right. I am outnumbered by Michigan people. The problem is all the Maryland people
Congrats,
are
Austin.
Congrats,
all
Austin.
taking exams right now. Yes, and congrats, Austin. On what? Who's to say? Yeah, I do think it's funny that the returnees are tight, but they're not locked in with each other. I mean, we did see that Doug is like, yeah, I don't want to betray them, but also I want to make a move. And Eric's like, I want to make a move. Also, I'm going to tell it to Katie. Let's talk a little bit about the whole Eric and Katie of it all, or really just the Katie of it all. Katie she's got all of the information. It just keeps coming back to her. She is chilling, and then Tony and Eric go, Katie, Queen, here's a plan that's happening. Whatever you want.
No,
Real.
To Erin's point earlier, I think that was the one point during the episode where I thought, okay, it may not be Michaela. When they who was it? Eric, and who else told Katie about
Tony.
Tony.
And then Tony. And I was like, okay, they're telling Katie this plan. Katie's going to do something. If she doesn't like it, if she's not okay with it, she's going to make something else happen. But she was good. She knows when she picks her battles, essentially, and she knew to let this one go. But but to that comment's point, like, yeah, that was my thought. That was my one thing, was like, okay, Katie is still getting all the information. She could change it up if she wanted to, but I think she's still in a good spot because she is getting all of the information.
I also love Katie going full Sarah Lucina at Tribal and just being like so shocked, like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And literally I was just like, please tell me no one believed that. Because that was like, Katie, love you. This Katie I love even more, but like, Katie love you. Worst acting job I've seen all season. And this has been a season with JS. Like, it is not. It was not great acting.
Last week was a much worse acting by Jack.
That's true.
Jack.
That's true. But Jack, we knew
If
Jack
it's not
didn't
this
lie
week,
from
it's
the
next
start.
week.
I have an idol, but please vote with me.
And also, here you go.
Also, here you go.
I don't need to be safe. That's fine.
No, but on to the point of some guy, like, Katie doesn't have to make a move right now, is the thing. And I said this when she got the idol. She is too smart of a player to let having that idol impact how she's going to play. This is not the first round where somebody has told her, like, hey, something that you don't want to happen is going to happen. And she just lets it go by. She knows when to pick her battles, and this was not one that she needed to pick. Because like she was saying, she was like, yes, I like having like Morgan and Michaela as an option. I like having all of these people that I can work with. But she still has enough. Like, she feels comfortable enough with Doug, like, knowing that they need to, like, take each other to at least Final Four and, like, keep each other in as shields. She feels comfortable enough that Tony is going to take her to Final Four. She feels comfortable enough that Eric's going to take her to the end. She feels like she's in a good spot. She didn't need to do that right now, and she didn't need to use her idol on somebody else when she is Katie on and will need that idol for herself at 7 or 6.
I am curious, Calvin, what are your thoughts on all of it?
Katie is just an amazing social player at this point. I mean, I feel like every episode is just a display of like, all right, so everything's happening around Katie, but she still knows about it, you know? I mean, even if she played the idol, what is she going to do? Like tell Morgan and Michaela, like, all right, so this is the plan. We're going to change the vote from Tony to someone else, or just like let Tony go. Like, I really agree with her decision here, and I really feel like she might make a run at the end, depending on what happens. I mean, Morgan has the legacy. I feel like Morgan would choose Katie if Morgan were to go home. Has the idol as well. One more challenge, final tribal council. I really feel like she's got it in her for sure. Like, she's playing great.
And one
The
big thing when
legacy
you're
keeps
like
them
in a position
safe
of
at
power.
7 or 6?
6. And what was that, Akshay?
One big thing when you're in a position of power, like, and you're at the top of that position of power, not making a move is a move. Like, you don't want to rock the boat because you're in charge. You're in control. You don't want that to change. If the boat gets rocked, you might have lost your spot at the top. So Katie's been on top this entire game. So she knows when to spend the social capital and when to keep it. And said, you know, spend social capital to pick someone who doesn't want me to go in the final 3 and is going to give this legacy advantage to not me. Or, like, keep Tony, who is clearly loyal to me above all else. You know, it was an easy decision, I think, and she made the right one for her, at least, in my opinion.
And she said, I don't want to be coming off as a leader. Like, she could have pushed JS. It could have been JS. But then Katie really puts herself out front. And, like, you know, JS will remain a threat. JS will never disappear. As much as someone like Doug can disappear. Let's talk about Doug. I mean, Doug comes in this season with one of the biggest targets on him just by virtue of he found all these idols. He made it really far. Doug didn't do anything to earn that in the season, but his name was always in everyone's mouth. From the beginning of the game, Doug was the potential vote. Almost went home twice. And then
he also came in with Morgan and Eric, who wanted his head on a platter.
Morgan, Eric, and Mike, who he voted out all 3 of them, and they were not thrilled. And yet he has laid low, maintained a positive social status in a way that he still got the superlative for most likable. And his alliance with JS has really paid off because here he is at the final 7. He's getting information from JS. And Eric and him are working together. Eric, Eggroll, and Doug are working together, which is insane. And we got some criticism from Eric about Doug's sort of wishy-washiness, but Doug wants power and he's in the middle. How do we feel about Doug's gameplay?
I do like it, and to touch a little bit more, I wanted to say one more thing about Katie, but basically Katie and Doug's conversation, where I think it's beneficial for Katie, or where she's doing a really good job, but also Doug has set himself up in a really good position, is they're being so open and honest and realistic about, hey, this is the only way we're actually going to get to the end with the targets that we had coming on our backs into this game. And I appreciated that Katie was like, we just need to make it to Final Four, and then we can throw each other under the bus at that point, kind of thing. Like, they're both just, they know what's going on. And I think to Akshay's point about not making a move is a move. It's knowing enough about where you are positioned in the game and where everyone else is working and moving pieces around to know when you can just sit back. And I think Doug has set himself up in a similar position to Katie, where he's getting information. The lines are a little more fluid in terms of who is working with who. And like you said, he got most likable on the superlatives. Of course, someone did bring that up at some point in this episode, saying he's really likable. We may need to check on that down the line in the next couple votes or something, I think. But I think he's done a good job of holding back. From what it sounds like, I didn't watch his original season, but I remember him at the beginning of this season saying he wanted to try not to have as much of a target, or decrease the target on his back as much as possible. And I think he's done that pretty well.
And we also heard earlier in the merge, like, a big reason to get rid of Doug is he gets stronger the more you let him get into the game.
Yeah. I mean, it's no secret. I'm a huge Doug fan. Always have been. I think he's great. And I think he is playing this game. I think he's doing great. Like, yeah, he came in with a huge reputation, and I think he, like, had to battle that. If he didn't come in with that reputation, I would not really enjoy his game that much, because he's, like, not doing much. He's being very subtle, and it is, like, yeah, I would appreciate, like, Eric had a whole confessional this episode saying, like, I feel like if we get, like, when we get to the end, people are going to look at this game. They're not going to look at, like, what happened in your past games, whatever. They're not going to care about that. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly how I hope people feel. That's exactly how people should feel. But going through the game, you do have to think about that, because he came in with this huge reputation. He's always going to be a big name out there. And so he has had to balance that. And I think he's done an incredible job doing that. And now, like, he is able to make decisions and make moves and take control a little bit. And, like, earlier in the episode, he said, I either want Tony or Michaela gone. Who were the two names that were written down at Tribal? Tony or Michaela. And who was the one that was pretty much making the decision of who was going to go home there, or, like, if it was going to go to a tie, whatever? Like, it was Doug. He was ultimately the one that was going to make that decision. So I think he's put himself in a very good spot. He is, like, balancing himself in between his, like, two number ones, who are the other two biggest threats in the game right now, in Katie and JS. And he's got both of them looking out for him. And those are the people that, in theory, are the ones that are in control right now. So as long as, like, he is maintaining those, like, periphery relationships as well with, like, I loved all of his conversations with Eric this episode. Like, that just made my heart so happy. I was like, yes. And I think that that's going, and I think that he's balancing all of that really well. So I think his one misstep was not giving Katie the heads up, just like Eric and Tony did. I think that might hurt their relationship a little bit. But I think because it is a relationship and an alliance built on necessity, doing something like that isn't as damaging as it is in a relationship where it's built more on trust.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a game-ending mistake, but I do think it was a misstep on his part.
I mean, Doug did basically nothing the entire first half of the season, and whatever he did was to, like, make himself less of a threat. It was, oh, hey, Jess pointed out this game changer. Oh, let me show it to the tribe. Oh, it's a legacy advantage. Okay, here you go, Jess. Like, take it. I don't want it. And then, like honestly, his biggest impact was the challenge where the returnees needed a win to keep them all intact, and, like, him and Eggroll, like, muscled that challenge themselves and carried him over the line.
I think that's an unfair read of the Doug Jess situation. He gave her the legacy and then said, but you have to protect me for this round. And that's the reason he didn't go home. if he didn't do that, Jess votes him out. I can understand being like Doug didn't do a whole lot, but at the end of the day, does the pre-merge of a Survivor game really matter for the winner? Like,
No,
you
and
made it through the pre.
that's what I was building to before you cut me
Okay.
off, Andrews.
I just disagreed with your take on Doug.
That's fair. Anyways, but like by the time he got to the merge, like where I lose the Doug mastermind thought process a little bit is like, yes, he's had this alliance with JS, which has worked out in the background for him. But if he tries to suddenly turn into the Doug of last season, the reason why Doug of last season worked as well as it did is because by the time we got to Final 7, he had 7 idols. And you can check my math on that one. And now
Was that real?
Now he had 3 though, but so like basically like he was just giving idols to his allies. There was one point where they were going to idol him out, and he had another idol that nobody knew about. Like he was never in danger of going home because he just had idols for free. Whereas this season, he doesn't really have any backup at all. Like I guess JS is his backup, which like that's worked so far. But this is the first misstep I think he's taken, as well as the first time he's tried to put himself in the position of power. And if that backfires on him, there's no roommates to back up on, and there's no idols to back up on. So like, what is he going to do to get out of it? I don't know if he can.
To push back on that, while yes, he did have all of those idols and everything to protect him last season, now he doesn't have idols, but he at least has people that measure up to his level as threats. Because last season he did not have that. Nobody was even close to Doug's tier level as far as threat-wise and as far as gameplay-wise. Nobody came close to being as big of a threat as Doug. But this time he does have people that measure up and people that he can push things towards and be like, this person could be a bigger threat than me. You could be more scared of this person than me. Those are things that he has to fall back on where he doesn't need an idol for it.
And I will say, Doug borrows a little bit this season from Santi of last season, which is Santi coming into the merge was a huge threat. He was the target. Like, Santi had really made himself such a big threat, and he let other people take the forefront, become the targets, and laid low and was able to get further. I'm not saying that was Doug's strategy, but it's very reminiscent of that. And I feel like a lot of times people come from their season and learn something from the winner, add that to their gameplay. Calvin, what are your thoughts on Doug's gameplay?
I think Doug's playing really well. I mean, noticing that you need an ally with shields is really important for sure, because I feel like people either take out the shields before they're supposed to and then they go home, or they ally with them and they potentially further themselves in the game. And I think his relationship with Katie and JS is very important. But I mean, before the season, was I even thinking that Eggroll and Doug were going to be in like this power position together and potentially flip together instead of just like taking each other out? Or, you know, we get like a Redemption Island situation where like, you know, Russell goes home early. It's just like one of them just like hanging by themselves. You know, the fact that they were even able to work together after everything, like for me, it's good on Eggroll's part, but I feel like it's especially good on Doug's part, especially being the one to vote him off.
We also get a very funny confession. Eric thought this was so cringe in the chat, but I think it's such a funny confessional where he's like, I'm reading this book, how to
Oh, I also thought that was cringe.
No, I think that's so funny.
Oh, I thought it was adorable. I thought it was hilarious.
I agree with Eric. I was like, not that book.
No, but I think what's
Don't
great
mention
is,
the book. That's all.
No, I think it's great that he's reading that book, but I think what's funnier is he's like, there's a whole section talking about this very thing that Doug is doing. Doug is so good at this game. I think that's such a funny realization to have. Wow, Doug's really good at manipulating. He must have read this book, I guess.
Doug wrote the book on influencing people, actually.
What's our take on Eric? Eric's been talking a lot of self-deprecation about his game.
What a guy.
No, literally, I think I wrote in my notes like Eric is my new winner pick. I just think with all that has been going on around him with Majesta and Mutiny, and like he's really put himself back in middle and, like we were saying earlier, power position. Him and Doug, him and Katie. He cracks me up because he is a little self-deprecating and definitely self-conscious about like all that he's doing each time, but he's talking to the right people. He's telling Katie about the plan ahead of time. He's, setting himself up so he's not burning too many bridges. I loved his line of 5-4 and a couple bridges burned. But he saved himself. I don't think he really burned that like any bridges after this tribal either. So I'm obsessed.
Maybe the only one he burned was like Morgan, who seemed not the happiest.
Is Morgan like actually playing with these returnees though? Like real talk.
I mean, from the preview, it seemed like she didn't care that they turned on her. So like, whatever.
Well, what's Morgan gonna do?
Who cares?
At Final 7, if someone betrays you and it's like there's no one else to work with, you go, all right, I don't like that you betrayed me, but just don't do it again.
Right. At this point, it's like, okay.
Yeah, the thing is, all of the other returnees have somewhere else they could go at this point, except for Morgan. Everybody else has at least done enough to build other inroads, and Morgan has simply not.
Morgan's one other inroad just got voted out and gave her the legacy advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think egg rolls, or Eric now, after that tribal.
Yeah, we call him egg roll.
Gaslighting everybody.
call him egg
He
roll.
was like, what do you mean? He was like,
Nobody even calls me egg roll. I don't even know where that came
Everyone
from.
was like, you literally told us to call you.
No, I was dying at that part. I was like, he's gaslighting. Eric invented gaslighting, actually.
But yeah, I feel like his social game with Tony and Sam, I feel like is like, it just feels so much better than like the other returnees. I don't know, other than like maybe Katie with Tony. I feel like I agree with you, Katie, that like Eric, I feel like is my winner pick too, just because I feel like if he's gonna make it to the end, it might be with like Tony or and Sam. I feel like him establishing those connections really early on. I mean, I feel like he really tried that even in like the pre-merge when the suicide bomber or whatever was happening. But I feel like he's really in a good spot socially. And like you said, I don't really feel like he's burned too many bridges, maybe not even like one. So I think he's in a great spot. Maybe the best in the game, maybe second best.
I'm really happy that Egg Roll made it this far because like out of last season, like I probably wanted him to go the furthest out of all the pre-mergers. And when he went out, I was like, oh, really? You went out that early? But I feel like that was almost like setting up his like narrative this season more than anything else. And now he's back. He dominated the food eating challenge again in tribe format this time. He won an immunity this time. He's reading books. No, I'm kidding. But he's just been like super entertaining. Like he's been super self-aware this time, which I feel like he completely wasn't last time. And he's gotten to the point where it's like JS wants to work with him, Tony wants to work with him, Sam wants to work with him, Katie wants to work with him, Morgan kind of has to work with him. And who did I not mention?
Sam.
Oh, Doug is working with him too.
Oh,
so he's literally got all 6 of the other people working with him, which makes no sense because he came in like, I was like, okay, I want to see the him and Doug feud. It's going to be great. Didn't happen. And the suicide bomber just completely failed, but like sort of kind of work. And then did like a very smart, like low key move and just immediately went, yeah, it's fake. Like most people would try and hold that and try and like keep it and extend it for another. He was like, nah, fake, like right away. And I feel like that almost like worked out in his favor. And then obviously like some challenges had to go his way. Like if the mutiny challenge doesn't go the way it does, he's going up, like for sure. But the fact of the matter is we're at Final 7 and all 6 of the other people are working with Eric, not Egg Roll, Eric, is just absolutely brilliant and shows, I think his social game has been the best, maybe better than Katie's, maybe. I don't know if I want to say that, but like it's pretty close, and that Asian American alliance is kicking butt, really.
It's just an Asian alliance. It's not an Asian American alliance.
I think Eric. Okay, here's where I stand. Because
I think Akshay raises a good point first. Egg Roll, bad at the game. Nearly went home. Eric, he's killing it.
There you go.
I think Eric can win. Egg Roll, no chance.
Here's where I stand. I think Eric has all of the makings of a great Survivor winner, except the confidence. Because that is truly something that you need. When you get to the end, you have to have had confidence in your game every step of the way. You have to believe in what you're saying, and you have to say why you deserve to win. And if you actually sit there and don't believe you deserve to win, you're simply not going to. Like, unless you have, like, an Eric Cardona on the jury saying, like, you deserve to win, like, somebody else saying, like, this is what you deserve, you have to go in with that confidence to be saying, like, this is why I should win. And that is my only worry with Eric, because I love him. I think he is playing a phenomenal game. I have sat here week after week after week defending his game against himself and against Cooper James. And
Hold on. Is Cooper
Cooper's an
against
Eric
her?
hater. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have some words.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I love Eric. I think he has played an incredible game, and I think that he has like obviously he had missteps in the pre-merge because he was like his closest ally was Mike, and like what are you gonna do there? But coming out of that, I think he has recovered so well when he finally did the right thing and got himself out of that situation. He has been on such an uphill, and he has kept those inroads. Like he still has that link to like Sam and Tony to be able to go back and be like, hey Majesta, like as we were seeing in the preview of like he has so many avenues that he can go to. So I just need him to be able to like own that and have that confidence in himself. And then he's like sealed it in my
One
opinion.
thing I will
If
say-
Katie's not there.
One
You-
thing I
you
will
gotta
say
get
to
to the end
cancel
first,
out
yeah.
is you said you need confidence every step of the way that you're going to win. I will challenge that Mallory from Michigan season 2 had no confidence at any point and then showed up at Final Tribal and was like, yeah, I'm about to win. And it worked. Like, so I think
I will
Eggroll can-
argue that's not why she won.
completely
Well,
true.
I think the important
But
thing
I
is
think
confidence
Eggroll
at
can
the
also just
end.
show up at Final Tribal and be like, this is why I deserve to win. And if he's with the right
I-
two people,
Yeah.
it can work.
I agree with Akshay to the where as long as he owns his game at the end and he's able to say like, hey, to your point, Erin, acknowledging that he was not in a great position and then got himself out of that position and found himself where he is now to get himself to the end. Like he can fully admit he was like, I didn't know what I was doing. I literally thought I was going to go out multiple times in a row. Like you can be not confident in your game in that respect, but I think if he can acknowledge that he has gotten himself out of the place that he's been on the up. But
Plus, I think the pulling Jack's fake idol shows confidence to the jury, whether he had it or not.
And I will say also, it's pretty impressive that, despite the fact that we know Eric does not like JS, he and JS had a good conversation because Eric has built up this reputation of being honest. Like he will tell you the truth. Even the truth is, I'll take you to 4 with the obvious implication of, I don't want you at the end.
Yeah.
And JS is like, but I know you're being honest. You don't want me out now, which is all I need. And like, as much as everyone looks at JS and like he's fake, JS can hear Eric say that and go, I can work with Eric. Like, I want to be honest and give Eric information because that's a vote I can trust at a time where he knows everyone hates him. Let's talk a little bit about Sam before we get to JS. Let's talk about Sam. We get a bit in the beginning of this episode of Tony being like, Sam, you got to trust me. She's like, sure. And then being like, play nice with JS. And she goes, hey, it's JS and Sam like we've always been. And then in confessional being like, he can go. All right, I've had my use
Can we
of
talk
him.
about how Sam invented this meeting could have been an email? Like she was like, that could have been a text.
she's like,
message.
that could have been a text. I literally wrote that down. I was like, oh man, so good. So good.
Didn't she say that with Eggroll, like at the beginning of the season 2? Like, isn't this not the first time she's used that line?
She said that with Jess. No, I don't know if she said this meeting could be an email, but there's plenty of meetings she's had where she was like, this is
That didn't need
bullshit.
to
I
happen."
don't trust Jess at all.
The way exactly.
Basically.
No, the way Tony was talking to Sam really pissed me off. Like he was literally talking to her like she's stupid. And
Yeah.
like it was just so annoying. But I'm annoyed by pretty much everything Tony does. But like yeah, I love Sam because she is also one of the more self-aware players where she recognizes her position. She's like, people are going to come to me and I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And if that lines up with what other people are doing, then great. And I love that for her. And yeah, I think she had no reason to not vote for Michaela because she's like voted with Michaela a couple times, but only when it was convenient. Like she's not working with Michaela. I don't know. Have they had a one-on-one meeting?
I guess I'm still confused who Sam trusts the most.
Sam.
Sam.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. Got it. So
Is
it's
it?
but like so many people are talking about Sam as if it's just a given into their plans.
And that's how she's playing.
Okay.
Yeah. Because she'll let you know where she's at. She's
I
like,
feel like
I'm
there are more
showing.
people thinking that she's a given in their plans than she actually is, though.
1000%.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
Look,
just making sure I was interpreting that correctly.
Sam
Okay.
said it several weeks ago. She knows where she's going to be next week. It's going to be sitting there.
Right here.
Okay.
I mean, I think like Sam went from like, what is this person doing to the game? And then she just went off at JS and Miranda at a tribal, and everyone's like, we love Sam. Sam is amazing. We need more Sam in our life, especially because like tribals are like #1 bullshit zone. Like no one tells the truth at tribal except Sam. Sam just chews you out at a tribal council and just doesn't care. So like the more we get that in a game in general, but especially at tribal, the better. So let's get Sam at final tribal, and like when the jury's like, say something nice about me. Do you even know who I am? She's gonna be like, no, I never cared because you weren't important. And like it's gonna be absolutely beautiful. Like she's just gonna destroy everyone that tries to come for her at final tribal, and I'm ready for it already.
I love at the beginning, she was like, I had a human moment. I don't have those very often. Like a real moment of humanity where I saw Jack was hurt and I wanted to give her the black vote because I felt bad for her. I was like, what a sweetheart, Sam. Wearing your heart on your sleeve.
Also, Sam is probably one of the only players in this game that just does not take offense to like votes. Like Tony voted against her, and she's like, I'll work with Tony, whatever. Like, doesn't matter. I'll vote how I vote. Meanwhile, Tony's going to be butthurt about these votes. JS would lose his mind if someone else voted for him. Sam, vote for her. Whatever. She's going to be here next week.
And that's probably why people think that she'll work with them, right? Like, if you stay flexible, I'm sure people would want to work with you. So
It's true. Good point.
Oh my god, I can't imagine the Tony and Katie conversation that's going to happen. Why would you write my name down?
That's an accurate representation of the conversation that's about to happen.
Trying to find Sam.
Oh yeah, I love how she completely effed up Michaela's
Oh yeah,
I did write that as Sam being the one to spell Michaela wrong, of course.
Also, Morgan's comment about Sam, like, I don't think me and Sam have texted at all. I met this guy at a bar named Sam. He texted me and was like, hey, it's Sam. And I went, Sam, oh my God, sorry you haven't been in touch. And it's that is funny.
That was the moment of the episode for me. That was
definitely.
That was perfection in a scene in Survivor.
Sam is a random guy.
That's so funny.
That's a good one.
But she's still here. She's still at the final 7.
And where's she gonna be next week? Right here.
In the
There.
final six.
She will be there. Yeah.
You? I don't know. Not for long. Let's talk about Tony before we get to JS too. Tony is I love Tony's random feud with Doug this episode. He's like, I've always hated Doug. I know I've always hated Doug.
Always.
No, and
I was wondering if I missed something.
Yeah, I'd like to start listing Tony's contradictions. Because first of all, in the same breath, he said, I've inherited Sam, like she's for sure gonna vote with me, and I don't trust Sam. I don't know what she's gonna do. Quite literally, that was one sentence after another. Like, okay. And then yeah, he's like, I hate Doug. I've always hated Doug, blah blah blah. And then later in the episode, he's like, I've never done anything wrong to Doug. I don't know why he doesn't trust me. I've never done anything to Doug. Like, it's like, are you kidding me?
And to be clear, the reason that Tony does not like Doug is fully because last week I asked Doug, so who's on the top and who's on the bottom?
Oh, that's
and Doug
right.
went, as you would, well, these 3 are on the bottom. And since Tony's immune, we can't vote for him. And Tony took it, so I'm the vote.
Yep.
I mean, he did
Oh,
that
so
this
you were gonna
week
vote for
too.
me if I wasn't immune? I was gonna be the vote if I wasn't immune? You were
He
gonna
did
vote
that
for
this
me?
week too at Tribal, where they were just like,
The
oh
way he came
yeah.
after Morgan and Anders, you jumped in and you were like, oh, whoa, tried to call him out. And he was like, no, I didn't say that.
Well,
Roll
it's
the
good.
tape.
And then
Gaslighting is crazy.
Literally.
And then he did the same with Michaela when he's like,
Yeah.
what? This is also my favorite part of the episode where he goes, I talked to everyone except for Michaela. And then Michaela's like, Tony, I want to apologize. And he goes, okay, fine, whatever. And it's like,
I had in my notes, Tony is so sassy and for what?
Real.
Like Like that was my only note about Tony. It's just like, why is he?
I love how
this?
Tony was just like silent for the first half of the season, where he was just like the other guy with Miranda, Jack, and JS in this alliance. And then the moment Miranda got voted out, you went, "What the heck? Who the heck are you? Like, where did you come from?" So it was just like a total. I don't know if it was a 180, but like it was like a 135. It was like a very weird turn, and now it's like, okay, Tony's just there you go. He's a good TV villain, like just like that.
Which is so wild because I did not think of him as a villain.
No, not at all.
At all. He was my winner pick last time I was on this episode. I was
the only time I was like, oh, this guy's annoying was like his conversation with Katie, where he was just like complaining about everything, and Katie's like, I'm on the bottom, shut the fuck up. And like, but I was like, okay, he's just being annoying, and then he was like, okay, I got over my being annoying. And then Katie even mentioned that this episode where she was just like, when Tony's being annoying, I can't deal with him, but the moment he's done being annoying, he's great. Like, he's a great person, and I can work with him really well. And I'm just like, that's not exactly the ally you want, but okay, it's working for you, so go for it.
She's still getting all the info.
Yeah, it goes right back to the old married couple comment of like, yeah, that's quite literally their relationship of like, they're always in a fight, but then but at the end of the day, they're going to come back together. They're going to tell each other everything and then see where they go from there. Are they going to be on the same page about it? Absolutely not. But yeah, I don't know. Tony just continued to be annoying this episode. And he was like, I never lied to you, JS. I never lied to you, blah, blah, blah. And JS is like, you told me it was going to be Michaela when it was Fish. And he was like, no, I never said that.
You know what? I'll say this in defense of Tony. Survivor needs people who are just contradictory, who are hypocrites, who are passionate for the sake of just having emotions. Like, we all watch Liz get really mad about not eating and scream. And we all go, yeah, I mean, you're not wrong to be mad, but also, of course, he's not going to take you. Yeah. Like, Tony is exactly what you want in a season. Someone who does make the audience go, what are you talking about? And acts very emotionally. Because if everyone just acts logically, it's boring, no one cares. You want a messy person. And Tony's that mess. JS is too, let me be strategic and planned. Tony is, I will actually fight with you about literally everything.
So if you're saying Tony's Liz and we said JS is Q, I mean, it writes itself right there. I mean,
there you go.
We got the duo right there.
And Tony's relationship with Eggroll and with Eric has developed a little bit. I mean, like, those two were really deciding the vote. It is very funny that Tony is like, would you go to Rocks for me?
Just
9 votes, bro. What are you doing?
Eric also completely avoided the question. He was like, I have immunity. He was like, he says, I'm not going to answer that. I do have immunity, so yes, I would, and that's the only reason.
Oh, man.
Should we talk about JS?
Always.
Do we have to?
We're talking about it.
All right.
So JS, he didn't do a lot this episode, right?
Nah.
Well, you got to vote.
You certainly got. Someone asked me, why did I show them who the black vote was for?
Yes.
Well, the reason is.
Also, why'd you mention it so early?
Well, because, you have to. The reason is because it matters for immunity. Like, if JS wins immunity, then it doesn't matter at all.
Okay.
And my thought is, the black vote should have some actual result to it. Knowing what it is allows for you to play around it. If you don't know who Jack voted for, it's just speculation, and then you're like, okay, then it might not matter at all. If the game changer is meant to matter, it will be shown. So I was just thinking, it's a vote. It will be here. JS is a target. All you need is 4 votes. You don't even need all of you.
That makes sense. Why did you clarify when reading the votes? When you pulled out JS's name and you clarified that one was the black vote?
Just because I think it's just to remind them, by the way, there is a black vote. There are 9 votes here. Had there been other JS votes, then it would have shown. But in my mind, I go, if I just show the JS vote, people might actually think, oh my God, someone's betraying me. I want it to be like clear what.
Oh, but I would want that.
Yeah, I want them to think someone betrayed them. That's the point.
It's okay, Anders.
I do think that it was funny that he was so angry that the black vote was put on him in the first place. Like, yeah, talk about, like, Sam does not care when her name gets written down, like, at all. JS, completely opposite. Like, you literally just voted this woman out And you're like, why would she put a vote on me? That's insane. That's crazy. Why would she do that? It's like, why are you so mad about it when you literally just voted her out?
Not only voted her out, like forced the vote to be on her over anyone else. You're the reason she is not in the game anymore.
You were so anti her, the whole time.
She still had the best handwriting of anyone there, so good for Jack.
All of my feelings towards JS remain the same. Great character. I think he's chaotic. He's constantly talking. He is constantly moving things around, his little paper names and everything. But it's working. It's working for him.
Yeah, I feel like his strategy with like throwing challenges to like kind of lowers threat levels, so he's saved over the shields and like, you know, the shields alliance. I feel like with that and the moves that he does at tribal, like moves kind of like sealing, you know, saying bye to people on like the jury and stuff, I feel like his chances at making the end are like really high. But like, will he earn anyone's respect on the jury? I'm not sure. And like, Survivor's about winning, not just making it to the end, right?
I think, here's my thing. And I feel like we didn't get a ton of like new JS content this episode, really. He's still hammering those same points over and over and over again. Like, he's having his conversations, he's doing whatever. Like, he, worked with people to get Michaela voted out. He was like, let's pitch this new final 5 of everybody except, Katie, Michaela, and Morgan and whatever. And he was doing those things. But his main point is still that he's just pushing the same points over and over, where he's like, he's trying to lower his threat level or whatever, and he's trying to throw challenges, he's trying to like do whatever, and yet he's still in these conversations with Katie and like other people and being like, okay, me, Katie, Doug are the top threats, and it's like, okay, so it's not working then, is what you're saying. Nobody is like, and people don't get one challenge win. Nobody came out of this episode and were like, oh, now I'm worried about Eric and challenges just because he won one challenge.
No,
like,
you don't understand. He's been throwing every single challenge.
Obviously.
And actually, it's funny because Eric mentioned that for the first time this episode, where he was just like, I kind of want to keep JS because I know he's going to lose the challenge at Final Four. And like, I kind of want that to be foreshadowing of like, that's when he stops throwing and he wins. But at the same time, like, I don't think that's going to happen because I do think he would actually suck at challenges. But but he's throwing them. So it's okay.
But it's that. And
I also threw all the challenges, but I also sucked at all of them. So there's that.
Let's be clear. When someone comes to confessionals after the challenge and goes, by the way, I threw that, all I can think is, what an easy thing to say after you've already
You
lost.
say before the challenge. You can't say it after. It doesn't work.
See, when JS says to McQuad, we should throw this challenge, and then they're all like, no, and then they lose, and JS is like, I threw that. I'm like, sure. But when JS comes to me after a challenge loss and goes, I threw that, I go,
throwing all of these challenges.
well, girl, I don't know if you threw it, but you lost, so.
Yeah, it's that, and it's the like saying like, and nobody on the jury is gonna vote for me, blah blah blah, and he's trying to say that that's a strategy, but it might just be the fucking truth.
I think he's turning it into the truth by just saying nobody's gonna vote for me, nobody's gonna vote for me, and everybody's like, we're not gonna vote for you.
Fish quite literally said, "Fuck JS," in like during tribal, like. This guy is not getting the votes. He's not. He's getting flipped off by people at tribal. That's not a show. The jury is not putting on a show for you. They're not buying into your plan. Say whatever the fuck you want at final tribal. Be like, I pissed you guys off on purpose. Why am I as a juror gonna sit there and be like, you know what? Thank you. That was smart of you. Thank you for doing that. And now I'm gonna vote for you. That's fucking insane.
JS is not getting any votes, and I'm now also thinking about like the people that he is continuing to work with in the game and setting himself up to be at Final 3 with, if at all. I don't see him beating. And maybe if he's up there with Morgan and Sam, but like,
he won't be.
Like, even then, I feel like at that point, I feel like people are just gonna like. People have used votes before of like, I'm not voting for this person, I'm voting against this person.
Right.
And I feel like JS could be finding himself in one of those situations.
Like, I mean, you just look at the jury every single tribal, and you have Andrew being like, fuck this guy. Dylan being like, fuck this guy. Miranda doesn't even to say it or be there. We all know she fucks this guy. Not literally.
Whoa.
Does not fuck with him.
No, she does not fuck with this guy. Thank you. English. Anyways, Jack literally used the black vote against him, and Fish was like kicking the ground like, fuck JS. Like,
and Michaela's He says, "Bye, Michaela."
Yeah, and then he goes, "Bye, Michaela." Like, what are you doing, bro?
And he's called her a bitch in I think the past like 4 episodes. So
I'm a little worried that Jack voting for JS will be the only vote that he gets from a jury member in general if he makes it to the
Ooh.
end.
Ever.
It's possible. It's
Real.
possible, right?
It's also funny because like Tony also, I feel like Tony did no favors with Michaela this episode. It's like JS is at least claiming it's a strategy. Tony's not claiming that as a strategy when he says, "Whatever, Michaela."
Oh, and I mean, one of Michaela's biggest reasons too for targeting Tony, both last episode and this episode, was like his attitude after Miranda went home, and like him just being an asshole in general. And so it's like, yeah, he's not doing himself any favors either with certain
Yeah.
people. But
Like,
like,
he just comes to tribal and was like, "I reached out to everyone but Michaela." I was like, you know, she's about to be on the jury, right, bro? Like,
but he
Oh,
does
that's
have,
the best
he
move.
has very strong friends on the jury already. Is the thing.
He does. Yeah.
Definitely.
He's got advocates there. He doesn't need to be like babying people as they go out because he knows he's got strong advocates.
but you don't want to piss them off as they go out either.
All right. Well, here's a question I do have. If you're on the jury and it's Tony versus JS, someone who is authentically an asshole to you and someone who is doing it for strategy, which one do you respect more? Me
JS.
personally, I respect someone who is authentically an asshole to me. I go, you were yourself, and I think playing it for strategy is so dumb to me.
No, here's my thing. I don't care. For me personally, I don't care if they were an asshole at the end. It's the game that matters to me. I don't care how they made me feel, whatever. Like, I would vote JS.
I want to say that, but I know it's not true. Someone annoys me the fuck off, or like pisses me off, or like went after me for no reason. Like, yes, I will respect your game, but like I'll only respect your game if like the other people had trash games. Like, if you piss me off that badly, you lost me as a jury. And like, I'm wondering if like Miranda's in that situation right now where she's like, "I'm never voting for JS ever. I'm going to vote for Tony 100% of the time." Well, like obviously in that situation she will, but like even against other people, I don't see her ever voting for JS.
Well, the argument here isn't did they piss me off? It's whether or not they pissed you off in a way to authentic, like that was just how they were feeling, or if they did that purely as strategy. Like JS is pissing these people off, but he's doing it for a point. Tony's doing it because Tony feels that way.
I don't think pissing someone off and being self-aware about it is like a good strategy, though. So it would kind of just depend on like, the game itself. Yeah.
Like
No,
saying
that's
"happy
such a good
birthday,
point,
bitch"
Calvin.
while someone walks out on their birthday is not a good move in front of the jury, to that juror. Saying that word to a woman, like, just none of that is good. And he did all of that. Like, not a good look no matter who you are.
None of it is good.
Right. It's which one would you prefer?
I think I would
You're
have
on the
to vote for
jury.
Tony
You've
because
interacted
of
with
that.
both JS and Tony. Just purely based on the interactions, which one would you likely vote for?
Sam.
I was gonna say I think I'd kill myself.
There's a third finalist. You vote for the third finalist. That's why they're there.
I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Erin.
Oh no, you just put me in such a bad headspace saying I had to pick between those two.
You have to pick
Um,
between JS and Tony. Who you picking?
I leave. Genuinely, I think I walk out.
I think another part of it for me too is that like Anders, you clarifying that someone is genuinely feeling that and being an asshole, in your words, genuinely, that makes me think, that would make me feel like, okay, so they're going to treat me like that after the game is over any minor inconvenience. I just don't like them as a person then.
Right.
Versus someone can control themselves and is doing it on purpose. If they can't control themselves and are doing that, that's a no.
That's
a
kind of
no.
what I was thinking, because at this point we have to take it out of it. we have to take that part out of it, because if both of these people were assholes to me, I don't really care why. If that's like, I'm not basing my vote off that, so I have to look at something else. But like, is it a very but so if we're looking then at the strategy, if it was your strategy to be an asshole to people, then that's a bad strategy. That's not going to get you any favors. That's not going to get you any faith. So you have to have had a much better strategy outside of that than just the pure strategy of the other person who's just a baseline asshole. But then at the same time, it's like, are you going to vote for, like Katie said, are you going to vote for somebody who's just a baseline asshole? Because that's not really somebody I want to give my vote to.
Let's just hope to God those two are not in the final three, and if they are, that the third person wins. Like,
my only argument here is that, like, with Tony, it's he just has a lot of emotions about these things. He's very reactive, and I think, as much as it would piss me off, and it did piss me off clearly in this episode of like you're being very hypocritical. Someone who is doing it for the purpose of strategy. It's like, so you're pushing my buttons because it'll push my buttons. It's a bad strategy. Like, Tony's not doing it to be strategic. That's just Tony can't help himself. I think it's different when it's like JS is
ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree that it's different, but I don't think it's necessarily better personally.
Yeah.
That's just my personal opinion.
Real
If
quick,
they told me
real
they were
quick.
acting, I'd be like, fuck, why?
Let's be clear, both of these are like terrible things. One of them might be slightly better depending
Yeah, if there's
on
a
your
final
opinion.
three, I'm picking the third option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Which might end up
Alright.
happening.
wait, real quick, Anders, though, just to say, is Tony's not actually an asshole in real life?
No,
Okay,
these
yeah. Let's just
no. Survivor is a
save this place
game
a little
where
bit.
this is a game, and people get pushed to whatever lengths. Like, you're on the bottom, you feel like you're being disrespected, you're gonna react. Like,
Right.
I'm sure there's many people in this call who have felt they've been in a position before and then reacted in maybe a less than appropriate way. Like, Tony, outside of it, very normal, good person. Like, I can I've been in games where I react and go, fuck you, like, shut the fuck up, you're wrong. But that doesn't, yeah, Tony's a very nice person. Obviously, the game changed you, which is why he had that whole conversation with Katie. It's like, Katie outside the game, she does work with her church. She is a very lovely person. In the game, she's going to be cutthroat. That's the game.
Yeah, I want to clarify. We're always talking about people's game characters at all given moments, because we understand, especially like those who have played any form of Survivor game ever, understand we play it up for Survivor always. If there's a camera version of it, we play it up for the camera. We're playing characters, like caricatures of ourselves, is the way I'm going to describe it. So, like, is it partially our personality? Yes. Is it the extreme version of our personality? Yeah, probably. So, like, I'm never going to go to someone and just be like, I hate this human being because of what they did in the game. More often than not, what people did to Erin in her season is like another thing. But, like,
no.
most
Famously,
of the time,
Michigan does not have that outside.
most of the time, I will say that I'm not going to go after someone's personality and like them as a person because of what they did in the game. And that stays for everyone in this Maryland season who's left, who we've talked about. Like, just want to make that very clear. When we're saying this person's an asshole, like, and that's their personality, no, their game personality is an asshole. Like, not them as a human being. Want to make that clear.
Of course. Yes,
I do want to say it's less, personally, I think it's less of like, we're not playing characters. That's not what it is. It's not acting. It's just like what Anders said, playing Survivor kind of makes you a different person. You
Also-
have a game version of yourself. You're not acting. You're not putting on a character. That's just who you become when you're playing Survivor. It's still you. You're not acting. You're not like doing anything like that. You're still yourself, but you are a slightly different version because you're put in a much different environment.
You're also much more multifaceted than the show will ever reflect. When I'm making this show, I'm putting in the perspectives that you need to understand the vote, to understand why people don't like each other. So when you're seeing Tony is like this, it's because the perspective we need is why Michaela doesn't like him. It's why Katie and him are fighting. It's why this and that. Like, Tony is so much more than just yelling at people. Like, these people have so many more dimensions. Unfortunately, I'm not going to show you every dimension. All right, not everyone's going to make 3-hour episodes about every little storyline that might occur in a season to show you all facets of a personality that may exist somewhere. I'm showing you very specific perspectives to get to a certain point.
Andrew, say their name.
No, it's like you know what? We already have JS here. I don't need a second JS. But look, I love Tony as a person. I also love the edit I give him because it's just like, it's fun to me. Anyways, we forgot to talk about Morgan.
Oh yeah, that's
I know it's
okay.
easy.
That's all you need to say. We forgot to talk about Morgan. Okay, that's our storyline for the season.
I'm not going to Jimmy Kimmel Matt Damon this. All right, Morgan was here. We do have time for it. Morgan, I mean, unfortunately, she. All right, I won't accept this. Morgan's playing a comfortable game. She had a trio. She's in the returnees. She didn't need to do anything. Why should she betray her alliance? She wants Tony out. Hell, she wanted Sam out last week. Like, Tony, Sam, JS, they're all basically the same three-headed dragon she wants to get rid of. How are we feeling about Morgan's game? She has the legacy now.
I'm excited to see her in next week's episode. That's how I feel.
I'm not.
I just think you're just talking about being multifaceted, and I feel like Morgan has a game that is not that. She had a lot of great quotes this episode. She's very funny, which I appreciate,
Yeah.
but you don't have to betray your alliance or like do something different. You just have to not look at Tony, Sam, and JS, three completely separate, completely different players, as one three-headed snake. Like, these other people have still been working with the same alliance. They have still been doing the same thing. Katie is in that 3 as well. She is in the returnees as well. She's building inroads elsewhere. And that's something Morgan has just not done pretty much the whole game. She had her girls priority. She had the returnees. And that's what she's been vibing with the entire time. It's been working with her thus far. But the thing is like, where does that leave her now? It leaves her with the legacy, which now, if we want to talk about Katie going full Sarah Lucina, why not vote Morgan out knowing she's going to give you the legacy?
I think
I
Balloon
think that-
Stomp is the best example of Katie's game, where she just stood in a corner the entire
Morgan.
time while everyone, Morgan's game, where everyone targeted everybody but Katie, or Morgan, goddamn, everyone but Morgan, and then right at the end, they just got Morgan really quickly. And Morgan, like, they were like, Morgan, why didn't you help? And then she was just like, I could have helped, but who stayed in the game the longest? Like, that's how she's playing. Let me just stand here in a corner. All these people are going to go at each other, but who's staying in the game the longest? Like, and now she's in Final 7 with the legacy advantage, and I couldn't tell you one move she's made all game. Like,
I will take this
He's there.
opportunity to drop my favorite Morgan quotes of the episode. I think we're all old enough to have self-control. Or no, sorry, that was Tony. That was a good one, though. I think we're all old enough to have self-control when he was I said Tony does eat when he's making fun of JS, but that's it. Morgan's quotes, I can't believe these idiots let us get this far as the returnees.
Yeah.
Okay, got even up numbers. And I've been out here. Morgan about her scheming and doing her Morgan things. She said, I've been out here.
And there was a Morgan scene I did cut from the episode because it just didn't advance anything. It was more of, I'm Morgan, I'm going to go to the end with people.
Period.
And you know what?
And there
And
you
she
go.
said,
Good for her.
I'm going to work with Michaela, I'm going to work with Katie.
Yep.
I
Katie's
will
a
say-
threat.
This is where we need Naomi in the chat, because Naomi is to Morgan what Jack Connors is to Michaela.
Poor Jack. Oh, wait, I completely forgot this comment that Austin made, which is like, should we send some flowers to Jack? Also, this is a great one. The Jess curse continues. Yeah, we finally see Michaela lose the thing she gets from Jess, go home, and now it's on Morgan. Finally, girls' priority does work out. Only girls have held this. And if it goes to Katie, a true full circle in the girls' priority.
True that. I mean, who would Morgan even give it to besides Katie, though? She doesn't have like
Sam.
any
Really,
other
Doug.
lines.
I
She's
think.
just like very passive. I don't know, just sitting there hoping to make it to the end. I don't know.
It would actually be really poetic if it went back to Doug. If it ended up with him, it would actually be so nice.
She's going to give it to Sam, who she's had no conversations with the entire game.
Doesn't need to. Knows where Sam is at. Were there any moments that we missed that we want to talk about from the episode? I'll say one. I love in the beginning of the challenge after Katie goes out, because she was doing the first letter for initial to do it out. She messes up, and Tony's first thing is, it's because Anders talks too much, and Katie's like, no, I messed up. I just love it's like, girl, don't blame me for you losing. That is such a
Honestly,
thing I would do.
real. Oh yeah. I was enjoying kind of the boot order of the challenge. With Tony and JS going out
Shocking.
first. I was like, yeah. And then an Eric and Doug showdown with Eric.
I
winning.
love the
was
Eric
like,
and Doug
Absolutely.
showdown. I'm so happy
Absolutely.
it was an Eric and Doug showdown, and Eric won. And I'm like, please let this represent the season. I'm begging you.
Also, the super even final 8 of like a 4-4 split of guys and girls, Sababa Majesta, returnees, newbies, like crazy.
4 seniors, 4 non-seniors.
Oh, really?
They did shoe
Wow.
size. I don't remember what it was. There was like a distribution of it.
Oh yeah, they talked about shoe size. I was like,
They had gone through all of it while I was setting up the challenge, but we didn't record it because why would we? Hey, here's a big shot of us talking about feet. All right.
I love just whenever anyone got eliminated, rather than them taking the box with them, you just showed up in the camera, grabbed the box, and then walked back.
Yeah.
yeah.
Andrew's just like, I want to be on camera, so I'm gonna grab this box right now.
Yeah, I love putting myself on camera.
Oh, I'm interested to see because I know a big motivating factor of a lot of people and like reasons that they were pushing Michaela is that they thought she had the idol. So I'm curious to see what happens when I assume an idol clue is handed out at the next challenge, and it's for an idol in the same location as the idol clues that have been being given. Are people going to be like, well, somebody else must have it? Or
I can totally see people being like, oh, it's because it's so late in the game. They're not hiding a new item, like some stupid logic like that. And just completely like voluntarily ignoring the fact that there could possibly be someone else with the idol. I can totally see that happening.
Oh, this is also a great moment too that someone brought up earlier, or multiple people have. That this is the second time Eric has threatened Rox to get Doug to vote his way.
There were 9 votes.
Yeah, 9 votes with the one JS.
But if they had voted,
yeah,
they
Jack
had voted
can't
Tony,
re-vote.
yeah, it would have been a Rox thing if it was Michaela and Tony. But
That makes sense.
last season, Katie, for your reference, Eric had a vote steal, and basically he had 2 other people with him. There were 8 people on the tribe, and he went, I really want to do this. I'm using the vote steal, so we can all either vote the way I want or it'll be Rox. And he wanted to initially go for Doug, but then was talked off of that and they voted for someone else. So
Wow. Okay. So that's just a go-to move for him.
And then he immediately went home the next vote because of how he played that.
well,
And he mentioned that too in this episode. He was like, last time I played like this, I went home. I thought those were like red flags and everything, and they won immunity. So I'm like, okay, well, never mind.
Crazy to threaten Rox and it actually working. What?
The lion
That's
has
so
spoken.
real, Matthew. So real.
Asian
Eric-
Alliance for the win.
Eric did have
Yeah.
the episode title, but he also had a great quote in saying he was stuck between 3 different rocks and 3 different
Yes.
hard places.
yeah,
That was
Yes,
my-
that.
it was
That
that
was
was those
so
were the
good.
2 episode titles. It was either some bridges burned or 3 hard places. But I decided not to do 3 hard places because I just felt like it was maybe a little too much for a title.
Well, I would agree. I think you made the right call.
Oh yes, and in season 7, the way that Eric went out is we did basically like, what did I call a Gen Ed challenge? Major conflict was about majors. The Gen Ed challenge was everyone was competing for immunities, and whoever didn't win immunity would go to tribal. So anyone from any tribe could go to tribal. And basically both sides colluded to be like, should we just kill Eric? And then they were all like, okay. And then they did that.
Got a low food chain.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
Well,
Basically true, yeah.
he's killing the game now. He's killing it. So
Yeah, he talked a lot about being a villain this episode. So I wonder if he becomes like a villain later on. I mean, he did flip, but he said he needs to make moves. Maybe like
I feel
burn
like he
more
can never
bridges on
be
the way
like a
over there.
villain. Like even if he plays villainous, you're gonna be like, that was Eric. It's fine. Love that
As
guy.
Doug
Yeah.
said last episode, he's a villain, but compared to some of these people, he's a hero. Like, there are some real villains.
He is Jerry from Heroes vs. Villains, basically. He feels like Mother Teresa with these people.
you just
Yeah.
you see him
That's a good
smile
comparison.
and you see him just like giggle and talk, and you can't not love the guy.
Exactly.
All right. Any other moments from the episode that we want to talk about?
I'm not entirely
Done?
sure if this was this episode. It's kind of like fuzzy because it was like at the end. I'm like, oh, Michaela's gone. Like, don't remember this part. But I think she was just like kind of sitting there after the votes. When I saw that, I'm like, can relate. She's just like sitting there waiting for everyone else to leave. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And they're still there, so I'm just gonna
Get
sit
over-
here.
Still over there.
Do they do that every time? Do they just all have to sit there and wait for everybody to leave?
No, sometimes they just walk off into the little parking lot right next to it and go to
That's
the
what I
other
thought.
jurors.
So why
It's
did
a
you just sit
wilderness.
there?
That was funny.
I think you just
She
didn't
didn't
want to
wanna-
interact with them, like,
Yeah.
because they were just there. Look, I don't know. All right, that's not on me. Oh, this is a good one. All right, well, let's get into winner picks. Erin, who you can't say Andrew. Don't say Andrew. Who's gonna win?
Well, I did say that the only person, like, after Andrew got voted out, I said the only person that my heart was okay choosing was Eric. And that is what I said when Andrew was voted out, and I am gonna stick by that.
Stand by it, Queen.
I know.
Akshay, you mentioned it earlier, but go ahead. Who do you think is gonna win?
Obviously Katie. But if not, yeah, I'm gonna take not Sam. I'm gonna take Eric.
Wow.
Put him
Back
down. He
to
said
the
not
bottom,
Sam.
Back to the
Yeah.
bottom. Calvin,
Demoted.
who's gonna win?
Well, my winner pick was Jack, and that's out the window.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say Eric. I think he's got a really good shot.
Katie,
All
who
right.
do you think? Wow, so many
Okay, so
Eric
he's definitely going home next episode.
no-
Sorry, Eric.
Yep.
and no Katie's, huh?
No,
it's
I said
definitely-
this.
no,
I
we-
said this last time. I just don't think like with how a few other people are playing, especially at this point. I feel like there's enough sway on the jury, or there's enough that people could use to be like, Katie's already won. We've done this. Like, I just feel like that's still going to work against her. So, as much as I would love to say my namesake, but I genuinely believe like Eric is in a really good spot.
I
This
also
season
think
is literally
Katie.
called winner take all. Anders, if you did that, you are the biggest genius putting that Easter egg in the actual season title.
I do love that was a comment in the first episode. Like, wow, did they name it because Katie
It
won?
was titled before it
Oh,
started.
Their shirts have the title.
Yeah.
It clearly had a different name, and then they changed it. Obviously,
It's called Winnick Take All.
Win it. Hey, he's coming back.
I feel like also with Katie, I think because she kind of has to be, but I think it might work to her detriment where she is playing to make Final Four. She's not anticipating that anybody's going to take her actually to the end. So she's playing for Final Four and hoping that she comps from there. Like, it's one comp, but still. But I feel like that could come to bite her. But I would obviously love a Katie win.
I mean, we'll see. Only a couple people know the answer. The real winner is Sam. The winner, it's everyone. We're all winners. All right, let's get some plugs in. Erin, anything you'd like to plug?
Watch your local college Survivor. Scotty Survivor season 3 is all out. We've got 6 seasons of Michigan out there. There's a bunch of survivors out there, so go check them all out.
What if I did name it Winnick Take All?
just like
Calvin,
wrote
what would you
in
like to
winner in every single T-shirt, just like NER. Never mind.
I'll plug Survivor San Diego. Season 2 is airing right now. Rising Tides. I would say it's pretty solid. And also make sure to keep your torch lit podcast with that season 2 exit interviews. So should have watched those as well.
Amazing. Katie, anything you'd like to plug?
If anyone has good recs of like restaurants or things to do in LA, I'm gonna be moving there.
Wait, really? Where?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, give us your address.
Wait, let me just send you all of my information. Actually, I'll text you about it.
Okay,
don't worry.
great.
But
Well, wait, do you live in LA, Akshay?
Yeah,
Oh, wait, really?
yeah.
Oh, I do too. That's crazy.
SoCal, let's go.
Good.
Well,
so if
Look at
anyone
that.
has recs for stuff like that, I guess
I
Anders
don't.
and Akshay might. So
Might, yeah.
Akshay, anything you'd like to plug?
I will always and forever plug Survivor Michigan. Season 7 will come out soonish.
Oh my God, give it a break.
are you a part of that? Like, do you know what's going on with that, Akshay?
In what sense?
In the sense of when it would be coming out.
I can find out, but as of right now, no, I don't.
Oh, okay. I just didn't know because I know
Yeah.
you still like produced it.
No, it's like it was edited very quickly is what I will say. And like, so I don't think it will have like any
So go to
longevity.
hell, I guess.
It was a different team that did season 7 than did season 6.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I'll give
All
you
right.
that, Anders. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
yeah.
Oh,
So,
it
like-
also was a COVID season, so it is.
Yeah, it was a COVID season, so it was
Yeah.
like a lot of Zoom stuff. But like, we have a brand new editing team, so it'll be a different vibe. All new
Whole new
cast.
cast.
So it'll
Whole
be
new cast? That is true.
it'll be entertaining from moment one, literally.
Well,
Can't wait.
love to hear that. There was a horrible comment made in the Discord that was like, "Wow, this season happened before Survivor Michigan even started," and that
Who made
comment,
that comment? What?
that comment alone made me feel so full of rage. Cool, awesome. Well, a lot can happen in 7 years. Apparently, editing one season and then editing 6 others. But you know, who's trying to count right now? It's so unimportant, and really, what matters is it's all made now. Can't wait to see Survivor Michigan season 29 next summer. But
Or
anyways, thank you
Survivor
all.
Maryland season 9 in 3 years. That'll be fun too.
Girl, don't even get me started. All right. Whatever. Go to hell. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. Please go watch Survivor Michigan. Please go watch Survivor San Diego, Scotty Survivor, Survivor Michigan season 7 when it comes out tomorrow, and then Survivor Michigan season 8 when it comes out the day after. I hear those are both amazing seasons, unforgettable. But next week, probably Survivor Maryland season winner take all. Episode 14 coming at you. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be wild. Who's going home? Probably not Sam. Thank you all so much for joining me. Thank you, my wonderful guests, all of you from Michigan, except for Calvin, except also maybe. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Bye bye. Everyone, wave goodbye.